The Bulls have the 12th and 45th picks in the draft. Nobody really has a firm grasp on what the Bulls are planning. There's been rumors about the Bulls being interested in moving up for a player like Ace Bailey, maybe Colin Murray Boyles. I like Ace Bailey as a prospect, but I will say some of the things that have been going on from an off the court perspective have cooled me off on Ace Bailey a little bit. I think it's not a good look to be turning down workouts, to be refusing to meet with certain teams. And I understand that in 2-3 years, when he's an NBA player and this is all in the past, it won't matter. But I do think that speaks to his attitude coming into the league a little bit. And I think Sorber is an example of a guy who could fall a bit due to injury concerns, but the Bulls look at the medicals and feel like that's not that much of a concern. So some of the other guys that we're hearing about potentially being available at 12, Noah Esenge, that I like him quite a bit, Asa Newell, Derik Queen. So there are quite a few prospects. I guess in a nutshell, the way that I would summarize it, I think the Bulls are going to end up with a good prospect at 12, no matter what. No matter how the rest of the board, the top 11 shakes out, I think a good player will be available. The question is going to be what position and what role that player provides. Because obviously we're not in need of more guards, but at the same time, the Bulls are not in any position to turn down the best prospect available on the board. They can't go by team need and draft a player who might be a slightly worse prospect because he fits the need of a big man or a rim protector. Like, if a guard is the best player left on the board at 12, you take a guard and you figure it out later. I know that many people disagree with me on that the Bulls should go based on need. I think best pick available is the way you go, and it really just kind of depends on who that ends up being and who you feel strongly about as a prospect. So I don't really think trading up is a feasible option. There are guys that I want. Tre Johnson, talking about a guard. There's another guard that if he was available at 12, you would definitely take him, but I don't think we're going to trade up for him. Khaman Maluach. Maluach is a guy who would fit a bunch of the Bulls' needs and is a top 10 prospect. The market for draft picks in the NBA is kind of screwed up right now. And I don't think that now is the time for the Bulls to be throwing around draft picks. I feel like the Bulls are the kind of team that struggles to acquire draft capital. They don't really seem to prioritize acquiring future draft capital. So any picks that they do have, they need to hang on to those and make picks with them. That's my perspective. I feel like it would be a mistake to throw around future draft picks to move up a few spots when, by all accounts, a good prospect will be there at 12. I mentioned it, they have the 45th pick. They have a second round pick this year too. And there are a few players that I like in the second round. Hansen Yang is one of them. Big man with definite rim protector possibilities. We've heard about Igor Demon, as a potential Bulls pet project kind of player. Again, I made a video about him last week. I don't think that Demon fits any need. I don't think that he's not a Giddey replacement, and we're going to be re-signing Giddey for the next few years. Why would you want to bring in a guy who's younger and worse when you have a guy who's still young and is going to be paid a lot of money? So those are just some of the names kicking around in my head. Trading back from 12 is an option too. I don't think that that's going to happen, truthfully. I just feel like if it's not going to be a trade up, Bulls probably just stay put. Never say never though. So Carter Bryant is a guy who's come up in some discussions. Noah Penda is a guy that I like. And yeah, I don't really know what the front office is thinking at this very moment. We don't really have a lot of insight into who or what they are thinking for this year's draft, aside from rumors, aside from they worked out a player or they're interested in a player. So it's hard for me to put a lot of stock into rumors. I'm going based off of what I know about these prospects and what I know about the Chicago Bulls. And so that's kind of what leads me to say the most likely outcome, they stay put at 12, they take the best player on the board. Exactly what they did last season with 11. They stayed put at 11, Mata slid to 11, a guy who was projected to be top 10, top 5 even a year prior, and it ended up working out great. So those are kind of my thoughts. And I should mention too, Swish Theory, we just dropped the new version of our big board, our NBA draft guide. So you can go on over to 2025nbadraft.guide. put that in your browser, 2025 NBA draft guide, or you can just go to theswishtheory.com, big banner at the top, and click on it. But we have the drafts guide up right now. There are all kinds of cool features, team filters. We have the order right here to reference easily. But yeah, you can see like CMB is a guy that has some variance in projections, and some draft boards have him going top 5. Some draft boards have him going in the Bulls range, right around 12. And you could say the same thing for like an Ace Bailey. Some draft boards have him going top 5. Swish has him going number 10. So check out the big board. I would highly encourage you guys to read through some of these. The breakdowns are incredible. There are videos. These are super, super detailed. And like I said, so many different sorting and filtering options. You don't want to miss it, truthfully. It's a really, really great resource. And I am super proud to have been a part of it. And shout out to all the amazing content creators and contributors and writers at Swish Theory. That's my spiel. Check it out. And yeah, I feel like that's most of the draft stuff that I wanted to talk about. I don't want to belabor the point. I don't know where the Bulls are going to end up going. So that's why I'm trying to cover as many bases as possible, to cover as many different prospects as possible, so that we have an idea when we hear the name come down on Wednesday night, that there's no confusion, there's no like, who is this guy? And there are a couple prospects that could have that kind of energy. I think Ryan Kalkbrenner is one of them. I posted a video about him today. Theoro is another guy who I could see, like, if the Bulls picked these guys, the fans might be like, who? What are you talking about? But defensive first kind of players, right? I do think that offensively, shooting is always a premium in the league, and the Bulls could always use more shooting, but defense should still be the priority. And a guy like Theoro, who is just kind of an all-around good defender, interior and perimeter, inside-outside defender, yeah, absolutely an option. And Kalkbrenner is one of the best rim protectors in this year's draft. Let's see who else we have here. Bryant is another kind of rangy, athletic guy who's a really good off-ball defender and then can do some interior work as well. So there are options. I will say that. I know some Bulls fans are feeling pessimistic right now about the chances of getting a good prospect, and especially about their feelings of the front office and just kind of how these guys have been operating recently. I do think that we are close to a good prospect. 12 is close enough in that range to get a very good prospect in this year's class. So with all that said, with all that out of the way, Arturas and Mark Eversley, they're getting contract extensions. Billy Donovan getting a contract extension. So I wouldn't waste too much energy and breath worried about the administrative side of things and trying to get the Bulls to change who's in charge and leadership and all that. It's just not going to happen. So at least anytime soon. So from my perspective, that means let's find some acceptance in the situation that we're in and try to look at how we can improve within the framework of the current Bulls structure, right? Because maybe for other teams, it's more straightforward to upgrade your roster and improve and to become a better team. It's less for the Bulls. It's not as straightforward as it is for other teams. It's not like acquire draft picks by sending young player, or acquire draft picks by bringing in bad contracts and try to use those draft picks, tank in the meantime. That's obviously not the strategy that the Bulls are going to be prioritizing. So I'm not going to keep, that's what I would like, right? That's what I would prefer, but I'm not going to lose my mind over it because it's just the reality of the situation. It's not what they're going to do.